Hi, I'm Heather Staker. Today we're joined by Michael Horn. He is a distinguished researcher at the Clayton Christensen Institute for Disruptive Innovation. He's actually a co-founder of the Christensen Institute. He's one of my favorite colleagues. We've co-authored a couple of books together, and he's talking to us today about how to avoid initiative fatigue at your school. One of the pushbacks I hear so often from leaders who are trying to improve teaching and learning is that teachers say they hear from their teachers that they have initiative fatigue. They're tired of one more thing, and they feel like initiatives often are pushed on them. So Michael has done some brilliant research recently around initiative fatigue and how we can overcome that. Michael, why do you feel like this research you've done is groundbreaking? What about it is new for us to learn?
Yeah, I think so many times we just assume that teachers are either early adopters or they'll never go along with the new idea or whatever. We make all these assumptions about people and we forget that they're living busy lives trying to reach each of their students. And if we really want to understand the reason why they sometimes make some changes but not others, that looking into the jobs to be done, their own whys and their own circumstances are really, really important. So I was thrilled with Tom Arnett and Bob Mesta to talk with a lot of teachers and figure out what were their whys and to understand why certain things just weren't sticking for them.
And as I understand it, you identified that there are four ways primarily that teachers are trying to make progress and they are ready to take initiative, but that we sometimes get it wrong with assuming that we understand what they're trying to get done, and yet we don't hit the mark, and then it feels like one more thing. So what are those four things they're actually trying to get done, and how can we build initiatives that tap into those innate motivations?
Yeah, so the first one is that sometimes teachers want to help lead the way in improving their school. And so their motivation isn't about just changing their classroom. They want to be part of a larger effort. And unless you help them be part of that larger effort, it's not gonna really click with them. That's really their interest in that moment. A second group of teachers sometimes feels that they want to better engage their children and more of their students in a way that's manageable. And so they're not looking for a revolutionary change that will change schooling as we know it, nor are they looking for some effort that's going to catalyze an entire district. They literally just want to light the fire under a few more kids. And so if they can do a new technique or some new devices or something like that that will light that fire, then they're really excited. The third thing we saw was that some teachers are sometimes in the job of help me replace a broken instructional model so I can reach each student. These teachers have sort of concluded that the factory model it's not working. All of the initiatives that have been coming down, if they're not tackling that root cause, just missing the point. And so they're sort of disaffected, but they'll get really excited if they see something that can totally change that instructional model. And then the fourth group we saw was people in the situation of help me to not fall behind on my school's new initiative. And these are people I think we often think of like, oh, why don't they ever want to get with the program? Why aren't they leading and stuff like that? And really, it's people who are maybe rejoining the teaching force or sort of tired of all these initiatives, like you said. And they're like, yeah, I'll go along with it just so I don't fall behind, but I don't want to be out in front. I've got a really busy life, and just this feels like one more thing. And what we saw in the research that I thought was so interesting is a lot of leaders will force these people into making changes. And that's why you sort of get this compliance mentality, because they're just doing it to go through the motions, not at any deep-seated sort of need to change something for their students or for their school.
You know, I've seen all four of those now that you say it. And I think that's why the research resonates with me so much, is I do see teachers that want to be the leaders and step up. Maybe they're new as an administrator, or maybe they just see low or weak test results and they feel like they want to make a difference. So I see that first category. I see the teachers that want to reach and engage their students better. I see the teachers who go a little farther and say, for me, the instructional model at times actually feels broken and I want to do something more like sophisticated to change it. And then there's that fourth category that feel like, well, I just want to keep up with what the school's doing. And so I see all of those. That feels real to me. And I think that's why I've heard from several people that this is some of the most actionable research out there right now. So in terms of taking action, what is one or two things that you would recommend that school leaders actually do based on this research?
Yeah, I would say one, don't force people into job four, into that sort of just go along to get along. Don't force people. That's the biggest low hanging fruit. The second one I would say is really start to see don't force people into radical change if they're not truly experiencing that broken instructional model job. And so a lot of the recommendations first go to don't force people into things. Then the next big recommendation I'd have is find those people who are really interested in that community movement, that school-wide thing that'll light that spark and want to be a part of something bigger. And then the last part is, some people aren't ready for that big shift, and that's okay. Give them something bite-sized that they can do in their classroom, make a change, make a meaningful difference for students, and then you can keep teasing them, because that's the last part about this. Teachers aren't always in one of these 4 jobs. They move as their circumstances change. So at one point you might be, I want to engage more students in my class. And a few months later, or even a couple years later, you might say, whoa, now I see the instructional model is broken. I'm ready for something bigger. So make sure you're reading your teachers and be in touch with them.
Yeah, that's really practical, actionable advice. I've found that I'm already using those jobs that you've identified to refine my own marketing pitches, so to speak. So when I'm helping reach out to districts and schools and saying, here are some ways to improve teaching and learning, I'm trying to articulate them more along those jobs you've identified so that they'll resonate, so they'll feel relevant to teachers. And so teachers will see that we actually can make changes to our classrooms in ways that help us make the progress that we want to make. It doesn't have to feel extraneous or one more thing. Okay, so I'll include below this video the link to your report with Tom Arnett and Bob Mosta called The Teacher's Quest for Progress, How School Leaders Can Motivate Instructional Motivation. For those people who want to dive in more, it's actually very easy read and wonderful research. It makes me want to write another book with you when I see good research like this coming from Michael B. Horn.
You've been my favorite co-author. So.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for sharing your thoughts today. I'm really excited for everyone to benefit from this very practical, actionable research you've produced.
Thanks for having me and for what you're doing for students all over the country.
Thanks, Michael.